So good morning, good morning. It is Monday, Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day to all of you, and sending big love and blessings to all of those who have lost someone in a war. I want to say thank you for your service. And my name is Bonnie Sachs, and this is my happy half hour. Good morning, Robin. It's great to see you. You know, it's really interesting this morning because I have really, truly no idea exactly where this conversation is going to be going. I was starting to type in the description, oh, we're going to be talking about trust, or we're going to be talking about Memorial Day and what it means to have memories. And then maybe we're going to be talking about the night of alchemical healing that is going to show up. And I just didn't have an answer. And so I know this conversation does have something to do with trust. It's been a theme for me for the last couple of weeks. So we're just going to go with that and see what happens. So good morning, Aaron and Maddie and Gretchen and Jenna. Melissa, it's great to see you guys. I am looking forward to seeing what is going to show up this morning, because it really is going to be a little bit of entertainment. So here's what happened. Good morning, Jill. It's great to see you. Here's what happened this morning. This morning I got my butt out of bed bright and early. I actually got out of bed much earlier than I normally do, and went on my morning walk, and I kept hearing that I needed to listen to the Book of Truth, the Book of Truth, the Book of Truth. And for those of you who know me, I have read the first 4 books and got stopped on the Book of Truth. It was just like oh, this one is so hard. It's so difficult. And I do have it on audio. The book I'm referring to, if you haven't heard of it, the Book of Truth, it is part of the Paul Selig series, S-E-L-I-G. I Am the Word. And it is an amazing series. He actually channels the High Council of the Supreme Being, which is also called Melchizedek. They're the enlightened archangels. There are 7 that sit on that committee or that council, and he channels them. The information is amazing. But when I got to the Book of Truth, it hit me upside the head, and it was really hard to tackle it. Good morning, Eileen. And so this morning I heard that's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to listen to the Book of Truth. And I turned it on and just kept walking and watched the information just kind of flow over me, because that is really the image that I had, that the words were just falling from the sky and kind of washing over me. And I was spending a lot of time in my head. I don't know about you all, if you all ever do that, but spending a lot of time in my head over the comparisons. I'm not doing this like everybody else. I should be this, I should be that. Why am I not doing this? How come this hasn't happened yet? And I just kept listening. I just kept listening. And I know that I know that I know, and I'm passing this on to you if you don't know this, that these books are actually transformative. These books have key codes in them, and they are imprinted with overlays, energetic information, that as you read them, they start to do healings for you, and they start to transform your low frequencies into higher frequencies. And so I just kept walking and kept trusting that the words that I was hearing was actually going to start to shift something, to start to move a little bit more of that fear and that disappointment and that judgment that I had about myself. Now, maybe you all don't relate to any of this. Maybe none of this makes sense to you. and that is perfectly great. You can dismiss this at any time, but this is what was happening for me, was that I could feel the energies, I could feel the frequencies coming up as I was listening. And I couldn't even tell you what chapter I'm in, because I am listening to it on audiobooks, and so I don't keep track of that very well. But it was just some incredible information, and I allowed myself to let the information change me. At some point, I remember thinking that it was like, I don't have to do anything here. I just have to be. I just have to keep walking and keep listening. And it suddenly dawned on me that this process that we're all going through is just that. There's nothing to do. There truly is nothing to do, because our souls are in charge of this. Our souls have got this. And so it really is just us being okay with allowing things to unfold. So good morning, Lauren. Good morning, Liz. It is great to see you. I'm relating an experience I had with walking this morning and listening to the Book of Truth. It was a really transformative experience, because I could feel, as I was listening to the words, that I had stopped thinking. We all tend to think a lot. And in fact, I sat down and started journaling when I got back home from my walk, and I actually wrote. I was thinking that, and I was like, isn't that interesting how often we all think? Now, all of us are trained to think, right? That's what they teach us in school. Think, Bonnie, think. What's the answer? Think, you know this, right? But what we are doing now is actually unwinding that process, unwinding the idea that we have to think about an answer. We have to think about what the right answer is. And I am definitely doing my share of unwinding that. And so it's interesting to notice that and go, oh, where am I thinking too much? The instant answer is practically everywhere. Practically everywhere. I go into a mode of thinking that I have to have the answer for whatever comes up. I now have some students that I'm teaching that text me, and they'll ask me a question, and I think I have to have an answer. And I literally mean that. I think. It is a thought that goes through my head, as opposed to me sitting with it and just allowing me to not know, allowing me to let the answer just come. Now, for those of you who haven't experienced this, it might seem a little odd to be talking about this. But what I'm really talking about is tapping more into our claircognizance, tapping more into that clear channel of knowing. All of us have had tons of experiences of just knowing what to do. There are lots of times that you are moving through your day and you are just doing whatever comes next. You haven't sat down and thought about it. You haven't said, I need to really think on this. You've just said, this is what I'm doing next. And that's more of that claircognizance. So it's letting ourselves just be with whatever comes up. So for me, a question comes in and I immediately go to, am I going to be able to get the right answer? And if somebody were asking me, what color is my shirt? I could give you the right answer. Come close enough, you know. What color are the daisies in front of me? I could tell you they're yellow. I can get that answer. I don't have to think too much about it. But when it comes to other information, I find myself going into, oh my gosh, am I going to get it right? Do I actually know this? And those of you who are in class with me, in the class that I am a student, now I have spent a lot of time in the last few weeks going, I don't know the answer. I can't come up with it. and going into that fear that I'm not going to be right, that somehow I'm going to be wrong, that it's not going to look good for me, that somehow somebody is going to look at me and say, oh my God, and she teaches people how to access their own information. And so I kind of have to chuckle about that, learning to laugh a little bit more about the things that I think I am supposed to be, the things that I think that I am supposed to know. And even the part where I have to sit down in front of Facebook with literally no notes. You all should see my table is completely clear. I have no notes. I have no little cheat sheet that's like, okay, if I get stuck, what am I going to talk about next? Good morning, Lisa. It's great to see you. I actually am just sitting here with this sense of tell your own story, tell your own situation, because in that there is some relatability. In that, some people can understand that. So I understand that I think too much, that thinking does not get me where I want to go. In my world, thinking is something that we do when we're pulling up information, like at a red light, you stop, at a yellow light, you pause and you're cautious, and at a green light, you go. That is the thinking portion of my day. But the rest of the way I lead my life is to just tap into my knowing, to ask about what am I supposed to be doing next? How am I supposed to be doing that? And to trust that that information is going to come up as I need it. If it doesn't come up, then maybe I just don't need it. Maybe it isn't that time for me to have access to that. Talk about tough, right? That can be a really difficult thing to do. Can you sit and not get an answer? So I want to encourage you today to try that, to come up with a question that you really have, that you really want an answer to, that something that has been bothering you, something that you have been stuck on, something that you can't move by yourself, and try just sitting with it. I actually did this morning. Good morning, Lauren. It's great to see you. This morning, I just sat with, what am I going to talk about today? And I just sat quietly. I didn't look for an answer. I wasn't in my head trying to come up with something. I was just letting the pictures and the thoughts come in to my awareness and then drift back out of my awareness. And the really interesting thing is that I didn't have a particular answer, but I did see this this skill set, this opportunity to share with you that we all are extremely clairvoyant, extremely clairaudient, extremely clairsentient. We just don't call it that. We just don't see it like that. So if you want to play a game with me, the game is picture an apple. And your apple can be whatever color it is. If you want to type it in what color your apple is or how big your apple is, that would be awesome. But I just want you to picture an apple. And then in your head, I'd like you to take that apple and to cut it in half. Now, some of you might cut it in half if the stem is up here and the bottom is here, that some of you might cut it vertical, and some of you might cut it horizontal. Now, for those of you that happen to cut it horizontal, you didn't get it wrong. And those who cut it vertical, you didn't get it wrong. The part is, can you absolutely see it? Robin, of course you have a green apple. I think that's awesome. Good morning, Cece. It is just, can you see the apple, right? Now, that is And pinky yellow. I love that. That is clairvoyance. Did you know that? Did you know that having that ability to call that up, to be able to see that in your mind is clairvoyance? Now, you can actually take that apple and turn it into a watermelon. And you take that apple and turn it into a watermelon, and you can do that any way you want, right? You might just suddenly, the apple disappears and the watermelon appears, or the apple stays there and the watermelon is still there. That place where you're seeing those pictures, that's what I call your reading screen. And your reading screen is where things show up, where information shows up for you. Now, I just think that that's really cool. Now, try zooming in on your apple. Let's go with the apple that is cut in half. Zoom in on the seed. Can you see the seed? Do you know what color the seed is? At the moment, I have a very practical apple in my head, so I actually have the dark brown seeds, but I can see little dots on them. And you can actually zoom in on your reading screen to get even more detail. If you wanted to zoom in on that seed and actually go to the interior of the seed, you can actually do that. All that is a little bit of practice, and you can get that kind of detail. You can also zoom way out. You know, maybe you want to see the apple in a tree or in an orchard or somewhere on the planet. It's a really cool process to play, a game to play about you connecting with the idea that you're a lot more clairvoyant than you actually understand. You know, I remember when I used to think, where do those thoughts exist? Like, where in my head do they exist? And the really cool answer is that they're all energy, and they exist there in my reading screen. So you can certainly play that game. That is an awesome opportunity for you to practice being a little more clairvoyant and to see how clairvoyant you actually are. The other thing you can do is sit somewhere and just listen to your thoughts. And you can sort your thoughts into what is my thought and what is the thought of something else in my body. So I would say, if I were having a conversation with myself about what I was going to be talking about today, that the words that were related to what I was actually going to be talking about is my soul, my healing team. That is me. The thoughts that I'm having around, oh, I can't do this, this is really scary, how am I going to handle this? Can I really talk for 30 minutes and not know what I'm talking about? That's a funny way to phrase that. Can I actually do that? Those are the thoughts of the low frequencies, the doubts, the fears, the disappointments that are showing up. And so those I can just sit and ask for some help with. Good morning, Jane. It's great to see you. So asking for help. When I get into that space where I start listening to my thoughts, is how I'm going to phrase it. We're not actually listening to our thoughts. We're actually listening to our soul. We also could be listening to the low frequencies in our body. It kind of depends what the voices are saying. But either way, we want to be able to practice listening and go, wow, that's clairaudience. That's me actually listening. So have you ever been sitting somewhere and you have a song running through your head and the song just continues to play? And maybe it's the same, 10 bars of music that are playing over and over again. I'm used to calling those earworms, and those earworms are actually part of your clairaudient channels. That can be your soul or your healing team, the people who work with you, playing a song for you to be able to get a message. Now, imagine if you're sitting there thinking about, and I say thinking, and I really don't mean that. Imagine you're just sitting, paying attention to the things that are going on audiently for you. And you hear a song over and over and over again. You could actually stop and ask to hear the song, or actually ask to know what the message is. How cool is that? We're actually a lot more clairaudient than we truly realize, than we truly understand. So if you're struggling with it, where you just can't stop the noise, I'm hearing all these songs that have the word noise in it, and you just can't stop the noise of it, you can actually just pause and ask for a healing. And the very cool thing is, it doesn't matter how you ask. It doesn't matter if you use the right words, or you have, some sort of jumbled mess, or you just are thinking it. You ask for assistance, you ask for help, and help is always given to us. So it's a really cool opportunity. And then I would encourage you to sit and watch what happens. Sit and pay attention to how the information comes in, how the healing comes in, how your thoughts shift from, oh my God, I can't do this. This is ridiculous. This doesn't work. I'm going to be the only one who can't do this. Those kinds of things. You actually watch your thoughts shift from that to having a healing and starting to say, oh, wow, listen to that. Listen to what shows up. Now I can hear it. Now it makes more sense. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all. David, you don't have to worry about her. I'm used to her being a little barky every once in a while. So that's my 13-year-old miniature dachshund with a big mouth that is barking in the background. Sometimes I can manage her and sometimes I can't. And today I'm just going to choose to let it all go. So an opportunity for you to practice being a little more clairvoyant, and an opportunity for you to practice being a little more clairaudient. How cool is that opportunity? And everyone is getting some more information about how to connect with this. It is, Robin, she definitely manages me. My dog is actually what controls everything in here. So good, I'm glad you didn't even hear her. So this is an opportunity for you to just practice and to play and to be like, hey, it is Memorial Day and I don't have nearly as many things to do today. So I'm just going to take 5 minutes out to just sit and to practice seeing. I'm going to practice calling pictures into my awareness. One of the things I also love to do is to call in loved ones who have passed, just to see how well I can create their faces right in front of me. But you can choose anything, right? You can choose anything that you want to see. You can actually ask to see a problem more clearly. And once again, once you start doing this, if you find you get stuck, if you find that what happens to me is that my mind starts to wander, and I go from thinking about something with my daughter to thinking about something with my son, and then my husband, and then my dog, and then before I know it, I'm on to world peace. And I have to ask for the healing for whatever it is that has me wandering, meandering through, that doesn't allow me to stay with one piece of information. Believe it or not, sometimes what I hear is, no, you're supposed to meander, go meander, and then I'll eventually get to the place where I'm supposed to have the information. If you find yourself thinking, oh my God, I'm not doing this right, I'm overthinking it, or I'm not handling it the way I'm supposed to, or I'm not getting any information, once again, I want to remind you to ask for some help. And it is that easy. It is so easy. We're so loved, supported, and protected. All we have to do is say, can I please have some help? Whatever it is, can you please move it out? Because I really want to practice this. I want to see what it's like to be able to see a clear picture in my head. I want to see what it's like to listen to my soul, to connect with more of who I am. And it's a big trust issue. So I love that my very first thought was that I was going to be talking about trust, because this is in fact all about trust. Can I trust that the information will come to me as I need it? Will the information happen so that I can pull it up and be able to use it in the way that it's supposed to be used? That's when somebody texts me and says, can I have some help? That I don't go into, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. Am I going to do this right? 3 versions of the exact same thing, right? Instead, what I can do is say, okay, well, let me look at this. Let me take a couple minutes to just sit and look and wait for the information to come in. I actually had an opportunity 2 days ago to do that with someone who asked me a very complex question. And I immediately went into, oh, I can't do this. I don't know. And then I said, wait, let me just sit with this for a minute. Let me wait for my soul to give me the information. And so I waited, and then I waited some more, and then I waited some more. And what happened was about 5 minutes later, I started being shown several different pictures that were putting the information together, and it sort of felt like puzzle pieces dropping in, coming together, clicking in, so that suddenly I was like, oh, now I can see the picture and I understand what happened, and I can explain it better than I ever thought I could. Now that's just a trust. If I had said I have to get up and go do this or go do that, or I had allowed myself to get distracted, to not sit and wait for the information, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So I do want to encourage you all to really take the time to just sit with it and ask for the help, ask for the assistance. All of us struggle with that one, right? We have such a hard time with trusting that people will be there for us, trusting that they're not going to yell at us, or they're going to have the time for us. You know, in the class that I teach, I'm always talking to the students about trusting that the mentors actually want to help, that there are people out there that really want to help you. And if you're not in the class, there are people still out there willing to help you. And I am definitely out there willing to help you. Whatever you need, that information, that person will show up for you as it is supposed to. And it's just about us trusting a little bit more. So one of the things I love about Memorial Day is it is an opportunity for us to honor and remember those who have given their lives for us, for our way of life, for the things that we have. And it is a beautiful reminder that we all have a reason that we are here on the planet. Some of us are here on the planet to protect and serve in one way, and some of us are here to protect and serve in another way. But all of us are here divinely with agreements to be exactly how we're supposed to show up. And it is a beautiful reminder that there were a lot of people who had those agreements to be here, to be of service, and to give their life for their country and for all of us to have what we have now. So I hope you all have a great Memorial Day, however you're going to honor those and to celebrate and spend time with loved ones and family. And I look forward to seeing you next week when we'll have another conversation. Who knows what'll show up, but I know it'll be fun. Hope you have a great day. Take care.